What's the difference between toilet paper and curtains?
What is the difference between toilet paper and curtains? Probably the thickness.
Okay, it doesn't work. Scratch that joke.
Wait, what? No, this is even funnier.
We're cutting
Yeah,
that.
No, come on.
No, the person's supposed to say, I don't know. The last person I did, which was my wife, did say, I don't know. And I said, so it was you.
Okay. See, now that was funny.
Yeah, it's a good joke. It's a good joke, but it's okay that the punchline got fucked up.
You know it's a good joke when you have to explain it. I mean, sometimes the explanation is even better than the joke.
Hey, how's it going? This is the Hook Better Leads podcast, and today we have Mike Goldenstein from ROOFLE. You guys do instant roof quotes. We're talking about humor and marketing and how to get funnier and shit.
And I feel like our humor has brought us closer together over the years.
Sometimes one would say too close.
Probably.
I wouldn't say that, but some would say too close.
I think you're sweating.
I'm a little uncomfortable. I think you're actually touching my... Not inherently funny, the idea of getting roof quotes. But you've gone to market, you've been a big part of their go-to-market strategy, and it's pretty humorous. And I feel like you know what you're talking about when it comes to this, because you essentially have tried a lot of things.
Yeah, you think of things, and we have a place, a culture inside of ROOFLE that we have a lot of fun, and ultimately that fun ends up on our social media pages one way or another.
What's the funniest marketing moment you've had with ROOFLE that really resonated with people?
We've had so many, and I have to say some of the funniest ones as what I think did the best on social media were not ones that weren't my favorite. I think the one that people identified the most with was GuruCon, where we suddenly came up with this idea that we want to have a convention, a roofing conference made up just for gurus and call it GuruCon. And we're going to hold it at a Super 8 in Fargo, which is I threw that one out. I mean, it was one of those jokes that kept getting funnier and funnier just because it was so close to what I consider good satire, because months into it, people were still asking, is this real or is it not real? How is this about me? Are they making fun of me?
Yeah.
You're making fun of yourself? Nobody could figure this out for months, and then we just ended it. And it's been great.
In a way, it could have also been about you. It's like there's, gurus in general, people make fun of them all the time, but it's always like, is it me? Is it you? In all home service industries, but in roofing, there's whenever anyone says something about a guru, you're immediately wondering, who?
Yeah. So, yeah, especially when they start making fun. But here's the thing. And this was a very conscious and very deliberate decision on my part to make sure that I am the butt of more jokes than anybody else. And because I don't want it ever to come across as being mean. And frankly, I do have a deep respect for the teachers and the leaders inside of our space. You have to remember, I started roofing in 1992. I was out of business in 2010, not because I was out of business, but because in those days, everybody was reinventing their own wheel. Nobody was out there actually giving content to contractors to help them grow and scale their business. And when you had my personality, who was very technical, very astute attention to details in the actual production of roofs, that's not an idea that you scale. So I made a very good living. I'm in the house that I live in today still. I was successful as a roofing company, but I was ready for something else because there were no gurus, there were no teachers, there were no conferences back then. And so I was bored. So I shifted. I went into manufacturing as a manufacturer rep.
I think Domedico was operating back then. You could have gotten something from him.
No, he actually was a contractor back then. He was tanking businesses back then, not teaching how to build them.
Okay, why do you believe weaving humor into marketing is such a smart move? What makes it work?
So it's a great question, and I think you and I will see eye to eye on this. And it's actually a concept that I picked up from Patrick Carr, who said, "What is branding but eliciting an emotional response to your logo?" And for me, for somebody to see our logo, which is a very simple orange on navy blue, I'm probably half colorblind, so I might not even get those colors right. But whenever anybody sees that logo, I want their mouth to curl up and go, "I know those guys." And whether it's me or Travis or Matthew or D or anybody on our team, when they see us, they're like, "Yeah, I know those guys." And I remember something that they did at a show, or I remember one of these campaigns that they did on social media, or I remember, like, that is intrinsically a part of our logo, which is really hard to pull off.
I agree. I don't really think that there's anyone that's quite doing it like you guys. Like maybe a little bit of Hook.
I think I was thinking. I thought of that a little bit. You know, I think Hook does it well. I think Roof Tiger really does it well.
Yes.
Like when I see anything from him, like I get a feeling from him just from seeing his logo. There are several, but not very many.
Yeah, and it's kind of like being consistent about it. Like it takes work to be funny, or even attempts to be funny, and so you actually have to work at it consistently. And you're talking about a story that people believe in and that they might not know is true or not. Like there's something to that with like skits and memes and things like that. Part of it, what makes it funny sometimes with a meme is like it's misdirection. You think for a second you're reading something that's true. It's like a graph or something and you're reading it and you're like, huh. And then you get to the punchline and it's like, I didn't expect that. And you laugh.
Yeah.
And with like Reels and TikToks and stuff like that or whatever, it's also sometimes you think you're watching something that's real for a second. Like we were just talking about the Lilo and Stitch commercial from the Super Bowl this year, that it was something running around on the field and it was right after actual gameplay. So you thought it was real for a second. And then you realize it's like this, it was a commercial for Lilo and Stitch. But it was like the fact that you didn't know it was real for a second, or you thought it was real for a second. So I think there's something to that. And you guys have done that multiple times. You did it with Guru Khan and you did it with Roof Mingle.
Roof Mingle, yeah.
For a second there, I think people did think there was a real dating site for roofers.
Yeah, and that was a lot of fun too for me because it was a chance for me to go to Jenna and go, all right, I got a really bad idea. And having somebody on your team that goes, oh yeah, I'm listening, you know, because I can't pull this stuff off, right? And so ROOFLE is Roofing Made Simple, bring it together. It's called ROOFLE. And I said, well, what if it was for Roof Mingle? And we were actually a dating site for roofers. And she's like, I can do that. And so for April Fool's Day, I came on a live and just very deadpan, hey, we gave it a shot. You know, Roofing Made Simple, it seemed like a good concept. We thought that people would be receptive to getting an instant quote online right through a contractor's website. This whole pathway to e-commerce was real, but you know what? We were wrong. And it's okay because we can pivot. And so I'm here to announce roofmingle.com because roofers need love too. And for the really old dogs who are listening to this, I hope it made a little bit more sense because I don't think I ever said it, but back in the day, Lamanco Vents, way back in the day, early 90s, mid 90s, late 90s, every single box of vents it came right on the cardboard, said, roofers need love too. I have no idea why.
You got a callback in there.
Somewhere. But I don't know if maybe because the technical term is a roof louver. And so they were kind of making a play out. But every single box of roof vents that you would get delivered to the job site said roofers need love too. Hence, 25 years later, we've got Roof Mingle. So we're finally bringing love to the roofing industry the way it was meant to be all these decades. But it's one of those things that I couldn't have done that, right? And so just that idea and having somebody like Jenna who's talented enough and can find enough time in her schedule to create an entire website dedicated to a roofing dating site for a April Fool's prank.
We're talking about the contrast a little bit between a joke and just being amusing. And I think sometimes pursue amusing versus just a joke because it sometimes lasts a little bit longer. And part of it is you have to take that initial inspiration and nugget. And then sometimes it's not as funny, but you're still like carrying it out. Like, because if that took a lot of work. It might be funny, but sometimes it's not as funny as time goes on. But if you still pursue it to the point where other people can enjoy it, then it's funny. But it's just, sometimes it takes work beyond the initial inspiration is kind of the idea that I was going for. But I want to ask one more thing. For someone that's trying to do this, that's trying to use humor in their marketing, what's a good place to start or an easy place to start?
So you mentioned a little bit earlier, be consistent, and that doesn't mean be like everything. And I don't know, can you tell? I really want to know genuinely, how often do you think that I post on Facebook? Generally, Facebook is the only place I post. But how often do I post?
3 times a week, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
That's my guess.
I think most people think I post a lot more.
Okay.
And I don't. Now, you ask anybody who's in this realm, they're like, well, you have to post at least 3 times a day. And I do think the consistency is a key. I think, basically my goal for a while there, I was trying to do something every single day. And it's kind of come down to maybe every other day. So I'm grateful that you have that handled, but I think you pay attention. I think most people that follow me think I post all the time, and I don't. Because I post regularly, but I try to post good stuff. The other thing that I would say for somebody that wanted to do this is you have to be fearless. Like some of the stuff just isn't going to work. And that's okay. I'm telling you right now, I think the funniest thing I've ever done, and I needed your help for it. You won't even remember this, but I called you and I'm like, I don't even know how to do this, but I found this video. And it was, I don't even know if it was a wedding or a funeral, but they released this dove. Yeah. Right? It went up in the air. Yeah. And then it just crashed like the little thing. It was supposed to fly away and it died. Yeah. And I said, that is what I feel like my social media is like. Like, this is a great idea. This is so funny. Like, I'm in tears laughing as I post it, and it just dies. Yeah. And it did. I don't know that thing got 12 views when we posted it.
Well, yeah, it's being fearless, and I think that there's another element of fearless too, which is it takes risk sometimes when you're funny. Like, you and I both have talked about this before, where it's like some of this is good for our brand, and occasionally there's a little bit of weirdness for your brand. Like, and we're not like that. I mean, I'm probably a little spicier than you sometimes, but you don't ever post anything wildly controversial, I would say. But you still take a risk every time you do something with humor. Like, the best humor in a lot of things take risk. And that's part of what makes it funny, because you react. Like, you think about some of the best comedians, they say something that they maybe shouldn't have said. And then you're like, it's like almost out of discomfort, or like you're a little scared.
Yeah, and you have to remember, especially if you're doing this for your business, that you're bringing a team with you. Like, every time I post something, I'm bringing ROOFLE with me, and I'm carrying that brand with me. So I have to be really, really careful about how that reflects on that logo, because you and I both know how quickly that can get taken away too, right? If you do the wrong thing, you post the wrong thing, and you're just not wise in what you said or how you said it, suddenly your brand went from that fuzzy feeling that I wanted, that I want people to smile when they see the ROOFLE logo, and suddenly you're canceled.
Yeah, wait a second to get too spicy. Like, get your handle on what people react to and understand. Also, you should be a native of the culture of whatever platform you're posting on. I think that there's an element of, like, I don't do certain things on LinkedIn that I would do on Facebook, and I would do different things on Instagram, and I would do different things on TikTok. Part of it is the culture that you're posting to. And actually, you know what, I used personality B with group A the other day when I was posting on my HVAC and plumbing thing about what you do with your hands during a photo. Yeah. And that joke, it's a joke about what you do during your hands during a photo that has been an ongoing joke in roofing. Yep. But I'm like trying to say it in HVAC and plumbing, and it's not funny because there's something about momentum of a joke in an industry, and there's been an ongoing momentum of that joke in roofing. So it's weird how it just like, it fell flat a little bit. But it's just funny how that is like there's a joke that becomes an ongoing in-group joke, which it does make it actually funnier too.
So I kind of wonder about that because, Chris Scoville and I were doing a lot of those back and forth. What do you do with your hands? And then we were creating I think we even created a webinar, what do you do with your hands?
Yeah.
And it did. So, but this is why I'm saying this, is because I don't care who asks me. I post for myself. I really do.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I post the stuff that I think is funny. And even to where you were saying there's some things you'll post on Facebook and some that you'll post on LinkedIn, and I don't disseminate. Yeah. I will post it anywhere and everywhere because I do think I do it for myself more than, I don't do it for clicks or likes or views, clearly, because I don't get a lot of clicks, likes, or views. But if you think about it, I think that's where people get in trouble, is when they're trying to create content for an audience primarily. Because it comes off as inauthentic at that point. People are like, yeah, now you're trying too hard. Or it's not, that's not really you. Now, that comes with a price. And I had this conversation with Mike Claudio. Because I'm right now wearing a shirt with my boss's face in it. And it's not a good-looking face for him. I put on a Pac-Man outfit and had our sales team chase me around RoofCon this year because I thought it resembled a Pac-Man board, and I thought it would be kind of funny if we played a live-action Pac-Man. The reason why I'm having this conversation with you now is because what $30 million, $40 million, $50 million CEO wants to sit down with me and talk about ROOFLE and putting redoing his sales strategy and implementing transparent pricing into an age-old, we've been taught for decades to do it this way. So who wants to sit down and have that level of conversation with a guy who just took off a Pac-Man uniform? I have to be careful about who I do, what I do. I dressed up as Dave Chappelle's crack addict guy and walked up and down an aisle at RCAT. Yeah. And RCAT shared that video, by the way. They shared that live.
Well, roofing's a little bit of a different
It's a little bit different, but again,
I don't know if this would happen in dentistry.
But maybe it should, right?
Yeah,
I mean, some guy's going to pick this up, and they're it's going to work. I don't think it will. But the whole point is, though, when you're looking at strategically reaching your audience, you do have to take the goods and the bads because there is consequences to the decisions that you make and the marketing strategies that you choose to employ.
Join the future of roofing at offers.roofle.com. Stand out, save time, earn more.
Yeah, I mean, I've done things that some would consider funny at a trade show that others would not be a client anymore because it wasn't that funny to them. That's
Fortunately, you did that on my Facebook Live.
Sorry about that. Well, you live and you learn.
Right,
right. And technically, it's all funny to someone, even when you're experiencing your downfall.
And I'm just dumb enough to do it again. I think we could have I think we could have played it off a little bit better that time because I think,
it came off like we were doing it on purpose, which we were trying to make it almost feel like we weren't doing it on purpose. We should say what it is for the podcast. We even to say it out loud we sound dumb as hell for doing this. We had somebody pretending, best damn roofer, pretending to do cocaine on a table at a trade show, and then we went live.
Well, in the back, he was doing it in the background while Tim and I are doing what was supposed to be a serious interview.
He was snorting something. It was caffeine, but then it got. Did you see it get screenshotted? It got screenshotted. It got screenshotted and shared later on like a Dimitri post where it was like talking about sobriety or not drinking at conferences. Did you see this?
No.
It got screenshot.
I'm glad I didn't either.
It's got screenshot and it was like, oh, this happened at your conference.
Yeah.
And so,
So
some people did not find it as funny.
Yeah, and that stuff does. I mean, when you push the envelope, that stuff kind of happens. We probably shouldn't have done that, but if you take a look at the history of roofing conferences, like that is, let's now turn our back on the history of our roofing conferences.
Yes, exactly. If you understand what happened before, which is like literally people died.
Yeah.
And like, you got to make fun of that.
It's hard not to.
No, you got to, like, people got like their legs broken and like there's like a lot of cocaine and hookers. And it was like it wasn't a joke. It was like the actual culture of roofing conferences before.
Yeah.
And why it was funny, why I thought it was funny at this conference is because it was kind of a clean cut conference.
Very clean cut one.
So I like contrast. I like contrasting. It's not funny if I did it at Win the Storm, which is known for that from back in the day. I'm sure it's cleaned up its act now.
Yeah, sure. Cleaned up its act now. But here's the thing. In reality, it doesn't matter what conference. You could go to an insurance, convention, sales convention. You can find that crowd. I'm sure that crowd exists.
Oh.
And no matter how much we try to clean up the roofing industry, if you are in there, because here's I have been going to roofing conferences for a decade, and guess how many? And I actually had this conversation there. How many times have I been in a room where people are snorting coke and in the presence of hookers? Exactly zero.
Yeah.
Because it's not my crowd. I don't even get invited to those rooms, even though. There are stories.
Life? Zero. Life.
Right,
it's real. It's zero.
Yeah, my
times.
wife is looking like yeah. He's about as Charlie Brown as they get. But I see. These are some of the things that one of the things is like, what is the funniest thing that ROOFLE has ever done? And one of the things I'm so excited to say is we haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
Because I know it's still coming. Because I have there's so many things that I know we're like throwing around as different things or different ideas, and that's part of being a part of a team that we work hard and we have a high performance, definitely have a high performance attitude inside of ROOFLE, but we have so much fun together. Like the ideas are always moving, but I know that we've got so many things that are just they're ready to launch, and that's part of it too. It's like you can't fake funny. And that's both the most fun and the hardest part of trying to incorporate humor into your branding strategy.
It's a good emotion to get. Like, if there's a quote that says, if you can make people laugh, you can make people listen. What about it makes people pay more attention? What about this? Just to cover the basics here for this topic. Why do people listen when they laugh?
I think that is just the DNA. That's what a laugh or a smile has physical contributions to the peace and serenity of a human being. And when they're laughing, they're relaxing and they're engaging. Now we're ready to go. We are all individuals that are attracted by different things. Some people are just super attracted to the technical. Some are attracted to the artistic. Some are attracted to, even when you're attracted to humor, what is it about humor that you're attracted to? Do you just like to laugh? Or do you sit back and go, now there's a level of brilliance in that stupidity. If you look at a character like Chris Farley, he was so all over the place and so chaotic. But if you look at what he's doing and how he's doing it, from one person, it's just like, that guy's an idiot. He makes me laugh. And another goes, that guy is brilliant. He makes me laugh. There is a part of this that is just into us as human beings, that we enjoy smiling and laughing and engaging with somebody and connecting with somebody, but they can all be for very, very different reasons.
And I know that there's some people that are more naturally funny and some people that are less, but How can someone actually get funnier in their marketing? Are there ways to train? Are there ways to train that muscle?
It's an interesting question, and I'm going to default kind of over to Joe Rogan on this. If you listen to him at all, he gets really nerdy about humor.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about all the time that if you wanted to sit down and talk about dissecting humor and dissecting how to tell a joke and timing and all of the intricacies, yes, it can be trained. When I was in high school, I remember somebody training me how to run fast when I was in high school. Like, they were like, you can do things that you can actually run faster. It seems weird. Like, you're either born with it or you're not. Speed. You can run fast or you're not run fast. I mean, it's slow twitch, fast twitch fibers in your legs, whatever. But no, you can actually learn to run faster. I think you can learn to be funny if you go to different places. I haven't explored that. I'm just going to tell you, I haven't explored that.
Yeah.
But I do watch people and I learn. I do watch people learn.
I'll say this is like, I attempt to become funny. It's almost like embarrassing to say, but I do attempt. I listen to comedy on Spotify. I watch it on Netflix. I go to shows, and I try to think. To me, all it is like, why was that funny every once in a while? Like, why was that funny? And sometimes it's like, oh, it was a intense overstatement of a common observation, or it was a misdirection. I thought he was going this way, but he went that way. And so I think, to me, the first step is just listening, like being a curator for funny, like finding it. Like, an easy way to get started for people would just be to share things that you found that were funny.
Yeah.
And then also maybe attempt to reproduce. And yes, it will occasionally fall flat on your face. And that's okay. Sometimes you'll get 2 likes. Sometimes you'll get tens of views, as Mike likes to say. And
your stuff might end up going moldy. I had one like overperforming for me that went bacterial, but I'm convinced I will never go viral. It just won't happen. It's okay.
So don't be afraid to get a little bacterial. And in this situation, you've never gone technically viral, if that's what I'm hearing, but like, you within the roofing community have affected a lot of people, and in fact, you've inspired people, and you've inspired me. So sometimes we're trying to affect a tighter group. We don't need to get everyone in the world to see our thing for that group that we're actually targeting to experience something fun and interesting and something that's attractive.
And don't forget that you don't even know who your audience is. Like, I attend church every Sunday, and I swear almost every Sunday somebody comes up to me and goes, I love following your posts on Facebook. I'm like 100% roofing content for roofers, and I have people in my church like, you're having so much fun. I love following you. They don't comment, they don't jump in. I have no idea that they're even halfway interested, but that's again why, your why really does matter. Are you doing it for your audience? Are you doing it for yourself? It really does matter. And I think people can see the authenticity that comes through. If you're doing it for yourself, you're enjoying it, and it's coming more and more naturally, which does take practice. And it gets refined, and over time, it gets better and better. And as long as you're having fun at it, who cares how many thousands of or hundreds or tens of views that you get?
And there's different styles, right? Like, I mean, I'm kind of a volume guy. Like, I post a lot. And I'm sure some people are like, why? You post less. And you're like more of like, I need to believe in it. It has to feel really good to me. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'll be real. Like, we did content with, Best Damn Roofer. We did content with Austin Blomquist, Roofer TikTok. And we did content with Mr. Fat Cheeto from HVAC. I don't get the HVAC jokes. I don't actually understand it, but we got 8 million views in 1 week. And a lot of people seem to think it was very funny. So sometimes, like, you know what I mean?
Sometimes you don't know.
That's a different strategy. Like, my strategy is different. There's a lot of different ways to go about this, right? And what I do still care about, I don't care if it goes viral as much, is like I want all the people in the home services industry to have seen our logo. So I put the logo on him really big, and then I just had him walk around and say crazy. I mean, like I didn't have him do anything. He did whatever he wanted, and then I put the camera on him. But there are so many ways to be funny, right? And some people's humor might be like, childish. Some people's might be like really sophisticated. Some people's might be what I feel like. What would you categorize as your humor? Kind of situational.
Childish.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely would categorize.
But it's got an element of sophistication. So
I would hope so. Yes.
Like we all have our own styles, and like kind of embracing your own style, and then following funny people.
The other thing is what is your result? Because if you're just creating content to be funny and to tell jokes, and there's no sales that result from it, like I have a hard time saying that too. Like I wouldn't be doing this. I would shut down Facebook if it wasn't leading to sales. And one of the things, and you and I have talked about this in the past too, probably our biggest project that we were part of as far as views, and it was completely manufactured because we employed the services of somebody who did have millions of followers when we had Datasar come out and just destroy the ROOFLE booth at Win the Storm.
Yeah.
Which was one of the most fun things I've ever been a part of. And that got millions of views, but what is it that makes that really go? Because if you notice, Frankie's did better than Olive's. Do you know why?
It was short.
Well, it was shorter, but what was it? All the comments were angry.
They were angry.
They were angry, right? So your negative comments, and you and I talk about this, the stuff that does the best are the stuff that people hate, or they get into the comments and they blow it up, make it go viral because they hate the stuff. And I don't get a lot of hate on my stuff because I'm not that controversial in that way, but I don't think I want that.
Yeah, I think of like layers, right? Like I don't want them to hate us as a company, the logo, because I'm also of the mind that it needs to make us money. It needs to, we talk about this all the time. The views are not going to pay our bills, right?
Yeah.
But we need people to see the logo. And if some of it's related, there's somebody frustrated in the comments about something that's not going to affect our money. Like they're just like mad. They're mad at the way the guy used the nail gun.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't, the logo is separate from that. It doesn't matter because I'm not installing roofs or whatever. Like that's fine for me. That being said, like I just want people to see the logo. But then later on, they remember the logo, even if they don't remember exactly why they saw it for the first time. With Datasaur, that's actually 10 million plus views, I think.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Dang.
Between the two videos were 10 million plus views. And people now still say it. Like they say, hey, Tim, I saw you on that one video. Some people get offended for other people.
That was my favorite part of it.
Yeah.
That and somebody calling for a paleontologist at the end of it. Do you need a doctor?
Yeah.
You know, a paleontologist?
And there's so many different ways to rock humor. Like some people can do a skit. Some people can say it has to be exactly authentic. Like what is a skit? A skit's not authentic. And a lot of these characters on TikTok that are crazy, like Mr. Fat Shit, best damn roofer. That's not them. Those are characters. So it's just different ways to skin a cat, really.
It is. So let me ask you this, because I have also employed a very specific and tactical approach to kill it before it's dead mentality. So when I started Unfluencer, when's the last time you've seen me post anything for Unfluencer?
I haven't.
It's been over a year.
Why
and
did you
RoofCon, it's been over. I mean, that was like GuruCon, yeah. So what did I say?
RoofCon.
Oh, jeez. So back in the day, to the surprise of nobody, I used to be a youth pastor, and specifically a junior high youth pastor. And one of the things that I caught on to very early is to kill it before it's dead. Because if you keep doing it and doing it and doing it, people they crescendo, and it's like it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it's the whole jump the shark in Happy Days. That you've overstayed.
Yeah.
You're welcome. And I don't want anything to overstay its welcome. And what I've noticed is things hang on longer when you kill it before it's dead. So people still call me influencer. They still introduce me as that. We had an event, SRC Summit, where the women's luncheon was hosted by Roof Mingle, even though we have not uttered Roof Mingle in almost a year now. Guru Khan, still, like, people keep talking about it, and I strongly feel, at least with my fiber of my being, is that I've always killed stuff before it's dead. I never want to overstay my welcome in any of the things that we've started doing.
That's good. I think like one way that we're kind of utilizing that is campaigns. Like we think of it as a campaign and then it's done. Like a year. We think of a year as we come up with a campaign, and then I think that goes with any kind of content, including humorous content. Like thinking about they call it content fatigue.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to reach that point where like everyone's sick of it.
And that's one of the reasons, like for Best Damn Roofer, I actually admire what he's been able to do because he's done it for so long. But like he has become this persona, and you probably know him, a little bit more like I do.
He's
like,
actually
he's very different. Like
he's
that.
a very extraordinary.
Privately.
He's extraordinarily sweet.
Yeah.
Like he's a very nice guy behind the scenes. I think that's kind of fun that he plays this crazy character, but behind the scenes he's very, very nice.
Yeah. But like I don't see myself ever committing to a role for that long of a time, because that now becomes your identity, and that's just...
Well, that's a whole discussion. That's a whole nother thing. Like Jim Carrey, for instance, he does very deep talks now. He'll talk to it. He'll be like, you have to either kill who you became or you die without anyone ever meeting you. And you're like, Jesus, Jim Carrey,
right?
Chill, buddy. Like, so there is a whole thing where like people that commit to a bit for a long time, like feel like it's a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
But like, hey, rock stars do the same thing.
Yeah. I mean,
Like they have to commit to these songs that they played from the 1970s. Like the Rolling Stones probably still playing like "Gimme Shelter."
Yeah, and how many times are they just like, oh God, I have to listen to that song one more time. I'm gonna shoot myself in the face with a bazooka.
Oh, is that what happened with some of the other guys?
Oh, jeez. Well, you think about it. I mean, even so many comedians that are.
Get rid of that one. No, I'm joking.
You look at so many of the comedians that live very lonely and have horrible endings to their lives. And you're like, man. I mean, it's like it's like so many other things in life. You really, really want it until you have it, and you're like, oh, this sucks. You probably see that. I mean, business owners, how many people look at you and like, look at Tim and how successful he is, and CEO of a big company and is growing and very like, and you know how much we travel, and you show up to an event and you're like, oh my gosh, everybody wants to talk to Mike and Travis, and we sit there and go, there's a price to that.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of you really want to pay that price. And I don't think anybody wants to pay the price of getting inside of my head. I'll be honest.
Yeah. Well, usually like people that are funny are a little like they have something that fucked them up a bit. Usually, I mean, and you kind of gotta embrace it as part of the humor, and it's all a little. There's difficult emotions in that.
Yep. So you can let it fuel you or destroy you, and that's up to you.
Well,
no judgment on my part.
Well, gallows humor, right? Like my father-in-law was what are the guys that do like they come to the scene where somebody's died? He was one of those guys. Mortician. He was a mortician, and he was funny, and he'd make jokes around that stuff
just to make it go away.
Well, I'm sure it's just your human way of processing things that are difficult, right? Like at the end of the day, we're all just trying to process the difficult emotions of being alive because it's suffering.
Right.
All right. Right? It's a good place to end it.
Yeah, right. So now that you're all depressed, Tim, why don't you tell me another joke? Because the first one was great.
Yeah. Where did the general put his armies?
Out on the battlefield, I would assume.
In his sleeveys.
Is that army humor?
That's the whole
I don't know what a
joke.
sleevey is.
No.
What's a sleevey?
Just his armies going into his sleeveys. You got one for me? To wrap it up.
What did the termite say when he walked into the bar?
What?
Where's the bartender?